This morning, fears for the occupant of this Sydney home as it goes up in flames. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull in negotiations to avoid an early election. And panic in Washington after a lone gunman opens fire.
This is 7 News with Ann Sanders.
Good morning. Firefighters are at the scene of a major blaze at a property in Sydney's northwest. Neighbours noticed the fire at the Cherrybrook home this morning. They were concerned the elderly female resident was trapped inside and tried to fight the flames with garden hoses, but were forced back by exploding gas bottles. When firefighters arrived, they confirmed no one was inside. Crews managed to stop the fire spreading to neighbouring properties. Lindt siege survivor Jared Morton Hoffman has told the inquest into the deadly attack Man Monis ordered the hostages to close their eyes and put their phones on the table. Chris Reason joins us now from the inquest. Chris, good morning to you. Now, Jared also says he slipped his colleague a Stanley knife when he realised they were in danger.
It was an extraordinary moment, Anne. Good morning to you too. Yeah, the first of the hostages to be called, Jared Morton Hoffman, the 20-year-old student, in this year-long siege inquest. As you know, it's been going in 3 parts. This is the third and final stage, and we're now getting to hear from the hostages themselves, the 16 who survived that night. Now, Jared tells a story of an otherwise very normal day. He arrived at work on a shift he wouldn't normally be doing. He was filling in for another colleague. It was going normally that morning when he arrived, but then Tori Johnson, the cafe manager, called him over to his table. Sitting opposite him was Man Monis, and he detailed to Jared about to go and lock all of the doors. By the time he got back from doing that, Monis was holding a shotgun, wearing a bandana, a headband, and carrying that backpack. Thinking quickly, Jared was able to grab a Stanley knife and discreetly hand it to his colleague Joel Harat, who slipped it into his apron. An extraordinary moment of presence and peace of mind for that young staffer at Lindt Cafe that day. The remaining hostages will be called over these next few weeks. This part of the inquest is set down for 8 to 12 weeks. Anne?
Chris Reason reporting from Sydney. Thank you very much, Chris. Police are hunting 2 men after a targeted shooting in Sydney South. Mahmoud El Zine was shot in the stomach outside a burger shop at Arncliffe late yesterday. He was found lying in the street bleeding. Witnesses say 2 men wearing balaclavas walked up to the 23-year-old and opened fire. His cousin says it's a case of mistaken identity.
He's a hard-working man, he's got a family, and very surprising. It's shocking.
The victim is stable in hospital after undergoing surgery last night. A man's in a critical condition after an incident with police in Sydney last night. Police were called to a Canley Vale home where they found a man suffering serious stab wounds to his stomach and arms. Witnesses told officers he was affected by the drug ice and his wounds were self-inflicted. A woman at the house was also injured. Police tasered the man when he walked towards them with a knife. A police officer suffered a minor injury during the altercation. A lockdown at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. has now been lifted after gunshots were heard inside the visitors centre. Police teams rushed to the scene, responding to reports of an active shooter as terrified people ran for their lives. Next in 7 News, Business and Finance, why the FBI has dropped its legal case against Apple. And a look at the damage caused by Islamic State to the historic city of Palmyra. Belgian prosecutors have freed the sole suspect charged over last week's deadly bombings because they don't have enough evidence. Police have also released new images of the mysterious man in white at Brussels airport. The death toll from the attacks has climbed to 35. Let's go to Finance News now, and joining us today, Martin Lakos from Macquarie Private Wealth. Hello, Martin. Some global markets were closed for Easter, so what key economic data do we have this week?
Well, those markets closed overnight and we've got a very quiet start. We are down 35 points at the moment. Energy and materials and resources doing quite well, but the banks have been sold down again, about 1.5%, along with healthcare. Aussie dollar currently around 75.55, but as you understand, trading activity is very quiet today.
All right, Martin Lakos from Macquarie. Thank you very much, Martin.
Thanks, Anne.
Pakistan's Prime Minister has vowed to avenge every drop of blood spilled in the country's Easter Sunday massacre. Grieving families have begun burying the 70 people killed in the Lahore suicide bombing. The Taliban detonated its explosive as children were lining up to ride the bumper cars. 29 children are among the dead. Another 340 people were injured. A candlelight vigil has been held for the victims. The bombing targeted Pakistan's minority Christian community, but many Muslims were also killed. Syria has released images of the damage done by Islamic State fighters to the ancient city of Palmyra, seized last year. A drone took the pictures of the historic site after Syrian forces recaptured the area. They destroyed precious artefacts and temples with dynamite and smashed many others. The latest images show some colonnades and structures remain. The United Nations has described the destruction as a war crime. Next in 7 News, a blow to Hawthorn after their loss to Geelong, the latest in the NRL. Also, Nick Kyrgios returns to form and becomes the crowd favourite in Miami.
Hugh Jackman comes home to Sunrise, revealing his new Olympic project on Sunrise tomorrow.
Hawthorn captain Luke Hodge could miss up to 6 weeks with a suspected broken arm. 7 News caught up with him outside hospital last night. In the NRL, South Sydney have confirmed Sam Burgess will return from his neck injury against Manly on Thursday. The State of Origin series was launched at ANZ Stadium this morning. Blues captain Paul Gallen is confident he'll play his first game of 2016 for Cronulla on Saturday. The Bulldogs are on top of the ladder after round 4, with the Titans a surprise team in the top 4. The Roosters are the only team left without a point. Coming up next in 7's Morning News, the national weather forecast with David Brown. Let's get a check of the weather forecast now with David Brown. Hello, Brownie. How's the weather looking?
Good morning, Ed. It's looking a little unsettled, especially around the New South Wales coast. Pressure is falling in that region at the moment, and it may lead to some flash flooding over the southeast corner of New South Wales tonight and tomorrow morning. Let's go to our radar. In fact, the Bureau posted a warning a short time ago. We're tracking this east coast low. It's expected to develop down here over the next few hours. As a result, it will bring some very heavy rain to this part of the world. In fact, isolated falls of around 100 millimetres are likely, starting tonight and running through to tomorrow morning. Let's move on to our weather wall now. We're flying into Adelaide, where it's a beautiful morning, currently sitting on 19 degrees, should reach a forecast top of around 23. In Melbourne, cloudy again, light winds, forecast of around 19 today. And in Sydney, it's rather gloomy, further periods of rain expected throughout the day, quite steamy. Currently sitting on 23 degrees, today's top is 24. And in Brisbane, a different story. Clear skies, forecast top of around 31 degrees, which is about 6 above average for this time of year. Now, as we move on to the latest from the satellite, we've got this belt of high pressures bringing settled conditions to the southern half of WA. That will continue for at least another 24 hours. This is the developing trough we're keeping a close eye on. There's that heavy rain starting to develop off the southern New South Wales coast. I think we'll also see some very heavy rain affecting the eastern tip of Victoria as well, and that the northern part of the change will bring storms to Brisbane tomorrow afternoon, 31 degrees. Sydney, a few more passing showers, 26. Melbourne remaining cloudy and fine, 19. Adelaide, fine, partly cloudy skies, and 22 tomorrow. That's the latest weather. More details coming your way at 4 o'clock.
Many thanks, Brownie. And that's 7 News to now. We'll keep you up to date right throughout the day. I'm Ann Sanders. Thanks for your company. Have a good day. Bye for now.